Here we go, episode 83 of the Hardline Sports Talk. I'm Michael Merlo. I'm joined, as always, by John Michael Masiri. JM, how are you?
I'm great, man. How was your Christmas? You have a good time?
Christmas was great. I feel like I'm still full from Christmas
Yeah,
and
me
the
too.
holidays. How about you?
Yeah, ate a lot of good stuff. But
And now you're on the keto. It threw you on the keto.
yeah, it quite literally sent me into a diet. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but it was worth it. It's all worth it. Christmas is my favorite holiday. Actually, Easter and Christmas are really close for me. But
really,
yeah,
Thanksgiving and Christmas are always in
yeah,
contention with each other. I know you have a
yeah.
whole
You know about me and
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving.
problem, but yeah.
Yeah. Lots to get to. Lots to get to. We're gonna do a list. We're gonna start up our top 10 position player rankings in baseball. We'll do that later on. We're gonna start with catchers today. Carlos Correa and the Mets. It's so weird that nothing is being said. Like for the last 4 days now, you just have heard nothing. So I'm excited to see that news whenever that breaks. Either way, um, we are going to start with football though. Week 17, there's a lot of things happening, a lot of teams trying to clinch playoff spots. There's actually a topic I'm throwing into my mind. I want to ask you, I'm going to ask this question and we'll come back to it later. What game should be flexed in the Sunday Night Football Week 18? So just think about it. And
So
then,
the spot's open right now.
yeah, spots
Okay,
open. They leave the spot open.
all
So
right,
we'll get into that question later.
yeah.
I do want to start with Derek Carr, though, who is just completely walking away from the team after Josh McDaniels has named Jarrett Stidham the starting quarterback for the rest of the year. Derek Carr is most likely going to be traded in the offseason to a team that needs quarterback, possibly your team. They're the New York Jets. But Derek Carr is going to be traded. They're almost benching him to, I guess, can he even lose any more value on the trade market with the
Right.
season that he's having? He leads the league in picks. He's not having a good year. He's owed a ton of money. They don't want to risk injury. He's benched and he's leaving the team. I didn't even know he's leaving the team. He's leaving the team.
Yeah.
What do we think of this Derek Carr mess and this Raider mess?
Well, I'll be honest, a bit of a surprise. I don't think we would all be surprised if he got traded in the offseason, but the fact that it's going down like this when they're still not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, they have a lot of dominoes that need to fall for them to get in, but they're still technically in it. And going to Stidham at this point in the season is definitely a big shock. And it obviously throws it out there that they want to get rid of Carr. And I think they probably mishandled this situation, like the Raiders have with player personnel for years now. Obviously, they haven't had the greatest roster management over the past couple of years, hence all the terrible first round draft picks and free agent signings and whatnot. But yeah, it's a big surprise. And now we gotta start talking about what team this guy's gonna end up with. I mean, there's a lot of suitors out there. Hasn't had a great year. Surprisingly, I think a lot of people picked him as a dark horse MVP candidate this year after the season he had last year. Now, obviously, adding Devontae Adams, who I'm sure is regretting that move. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty shocked by the move, to be honest with you.
I mean, this guy has been a good quarterback for his career. I think he's been underrated. I've always been on that Derek Carr. I've always been on Derek Carr's side. There's always been the haters of Derek Carr. It's almost like a Kirk Cousins thing where
Yeah,
you either like Derek Carr, you don't like Derek Carr, and you don't think he's that good. I'm not as extreme as other people. I know Colin Cowherd has always called him a franchise quarterback. He's called him a Hall of Famer. I mean, I watched the clip
Who did
yesterday,
Devontae Adams?
but no, he said this in October of
Yeah,
this year.
that's
He
true.
called Derek Carr no day he'll be a Hall of Famer, and I'm
How
not
about
on that level.
how about let's win a playoff game first, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
but I think that this is a bad move because I don't think this is Derek Carr's fault. He's not having a good year. But to just pin the blame on him, that it seems like that's what they're doing.
yeah,
And ever since Josh McDaniel has gotten here, everything has gone to crap.
yeah.
Derek Carr has been a fine player, even in his worst years, has never been this bad. And I don't think it's coincidence that Josh McDaniels takes over and there's issues in the locker room that you hear about or are, teased. We haven't
Right,
heard of any specific issues, but it's always teased that there's
right.
something wrong in that locker room.
Well,
Derek
yeah,
Carr has been a fine player his whole career. This is not a coincidence that Josh McDaniels gets here and it all goes to crap.
yeah. Oh, I think you're 100% correct on that, but I also think this is one of those moves where Yeah, in a perfect world, in a vacuum, this makes sense, right? You don't want to tarnish your quarterback's value. You hope that he just, you're going to keep him on the bench, keep him away from the team, whatever, so he stays healthy, and you could trade him away in the offseason. Unfortunately, that's not how things work. This is a team that has 53 players on the roster, and this is a guy who's been the face of your franchise for almost a decade now. And you can't just go ahead and have him sit on the bench, start some joke quarterback, have him go away from the team, and be like, all right, well, we're going to get rid of him. We'll get some draft capital. We'll get whatever. We'll shed his salary. And then next year, we'll go get a different quarterback, and we'll go out and have a playoff team. Like, it definitely is hurting the whole morale of the team. It's hurting the reputation of the team. I think also, I don't know how this is going to impact Carr's value on the market. I think it decreases it a little bit, especially the Las Vegas Raiders can thank a couple of people or a couple of situations for the reason why Derek Carr's value is going to be decreased this season. They can thank themselves by benching him, because I think that's going to be in the back of people's minds of saying, well, he wasn't having a great year, and then they really went to the extreme to bench him, and they had a bad season. They're going to win 6 or 7 games this year when it's all said and done. And then they could thank Russell Wilson, because you're not going to have these guys that have these gigantic contracts, these quarterbacks, and just expect some team to come out, go give up a ton of draft capital, take on this huge salary, and be like, all right, we got our guy. Now we're going to be a Super Bowl contender, because that's exactly what the Denver Broncos thought was going to happen. That's looking like a disaster right now. Still salvageable, but not looking good. And then you even have the Cleveland Browns, who just went out and gave up all these draft picks for Deshaun Watson, who not only isn't playing great on the field, he also has a ton of off the field issues that who knows when more stuff is going to come out at any point. It seems like it's a ticking time bomb. But yeah, I mean, who really at this point is going to want to give up a major assets in order to get Derek Carr? I think that whatever team he goes to, it might just be like they bought his contract. It literally might just be Derek Carr for a couple conditional picks or whatever, and that's it. And they obviously eat the money.
Yeah, I mean, he's not playing. I mean, even when Russ got traded, Russell Wilson he had a very nice season last year. He was still a high level player in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Carr is not playing at a high level for this year. He wasn't on Russell Wilson's level last season. So you're right. You're not going to get a massive haul back. It's going to be maybe a couple of picks, like you said, take the money and be done with it.
Yeah.
He's also not going to have the expectation that Russell Wilson had coming into Denver. I mean, to go win a Super Bowl. I mean, if he goes to the Jets, he's going to be, all right, let's get to the playoffs and let's try and go on a run. I'm using the Jets as an example because they're going to be named in every veteran quarterback that's available this offseason. Right. But yeah, I mean, does it hurt his draft value? Is it a benching like, oh, he's so bad we have to bench him for the last 2 games? Or is it, do we really want to see what Jarrett Stidham has? I'm probably going with, they're probably benching him. I think it's both.
I think that the Raiders GM is going to have to answer that question when he's talking to other GMs over the offseason trying to trade this guy. They're going to be like, you're trying to sell me on your quarterback that you're trying to trade for whatever draft picks of mine that you want. Meanwhile, you benched him at the end of the year, and he'll be like, oh, well, we knew we were going to trade him. We were just trying to make sure he stayed healthy and, make sure everything was all right because we knew we were going to trade. Like, I don't know if guys are going to buy that. And honestly, if they want Russell Wilson type return, which they're not going to get, obviously, but if they want something kind of close to that, where you're talking top 1 or 2 round picks or a pick, because I think that's the closest shot they have is maybe they get a second rounder, you're going to have to attach a talent to that, I think, or you're going to have to give up some sort of high draft pick attached to Derek Carr. Because like I said, I don't really see why someone would come out like the New York Jets or whoever else, offer them a first or a second round pick and be like, yeah, we'll take on the $30+ million that he's owed every year. No way.
But, and I'm not familiar with the contract. I'm going to look it up right now. There may be a team that, let's say, the Jets get their quarterback and other teams that are looking for quarterbacks with, rosters that are ready to compete. Let's say Carr is that last guy. I don't even think he's going to be that last guy available. Let's say he was. You are going to have teams that are desperate and say, you know what? All right. Maybe we have to, give in a little bit. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Wow.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
I think that might work against. I actually think it's the opposite. I think the longer the Raiders wait, I think it's going to work against them because I don't think a team is going to be looking at their quarterback situation if nobody really that great's left on the board. Let's Garoppolo is staying or he's gone or Rodgers isn't available, Lamar's not available, whoever's not available. And they're going to look at their board and say, all right, it's Derek Carr, who we could trade a pick for or whatever, or just take on his salary of however many $1 million it is. Or we could just go out and get one of those serviceable veteran quarterbacks like a Jacoby Brissett or someone like that. I think they're going to go with Jacoby Brissett. And I think the Raiders might just be stuck with this guy.
It's like $40 million a year. They're going to have to eat some of this salary.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Oh, trust me. I did my Jets Madden franchise a month ago or whatever. And I was like trying to build the 2023 Jets and I traded for Derek Carr. And I looked and I was like, what happened to all my cap space? Guy makes like a $40 million cap hit. It's crazy.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult contract to trade. So, yeah, looks like it's just going to be a couple of picks. Where do I want to go next? I really want to talk about Russ for a second because there's this report out there that he has his own private parking spot and his own private offices in the Broncos facility. And this has been an issue, not only now that they're terrible, but this has been an issue even dating back to the start of camp. Like other players are upset by this. And it really makes you think just how unlike this guy is, not only here, not only by, a select amount of players, but, even in Seattle, I mean, you hear guys come out and talk bad about him, not talking highly of him. He may very well be the most unliked player in the NFL.
It just keeps getting worse. And yeah, I mean, when I think of Russell Wilson, I just think corny. And that Broncos team, just when we thought their season couldn't get any worse, they come out on Christmas, they get blown out. They got linemen pushing quarterbacks on the sideline. They fire their coach, really bad. And not to mention they got blown out by the Rams and Baker Mayfield, who are a team that has been extremely disappointing this year. And obviously we're not expecting Baker Mayfield to be their quarterback, but I know we're going to get to Sean Payton. To me, that's the chances of that happening are less than zero. I think there is no shot in hell that Sean Payton ends up in Denver. I'll just say that right now. And I think a couple reasons for that. Sean Payton is an experienced head coach who doesn't necessarily need to coach again. And I know he's got TV deals and whatnot, so he's doing just fine. So I don't think he's just going to go out there and throw himself into some horrible situation like what the Broncos got going on right now, a team that is having an awful season, has a quarterback that needs to be fixed to his old form, has no draft picks, so not looking good for them. And also, he's got Vic Fangio attached to him. So wouldn't that be a little awkward and be like, hey, you want to come be the defensive coordinator for the team that fired you as their head coach?
No. Yeah. I think this is how we have to put it with Sean Payton. Sean Payton is not going to be chosen, right? Like, he's not going to go into an interview process and they're going to have two guys and they're going to say, okay, you're the head coach. It's going to be where Sean Payton wants to go, right? Sean Payton's going to choose the team that he's going to be the head coach of. So I believe them when they say he's going to wait for the perfect situation. I don't think Denver is the perfect situation. I think it's the opposite of a perfect situation. Oh, yeah. Are the Cardinals a destination that he would want to go to? Does he want to go deal with Kyler Murray and play, with Arizona? I don't know. There are three teams to me that stick out. One is the Chargers. I've been saying this for a month now, but that's no guarantee because they're going to go to the playoffs. And do they have the balls to fire Brandon Staley? And what if they do win a playoff game? Do they still have the balls to fire him?
Yeah.
The other team's the Cowboys. Do they have the balls to fire Mike McCarthy? There's a chance they have a 1 seed still. Highly unlikely, but let's just say they are the 5 seed, they go to Tampa and they beat the Bucs, they win a playoff game, they're in the divisional round, and they lose to the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Can you fire him? Can you fire that guy? Probably not. So what other team is left? Does he go back to the Saints? I read yesterday it's highly unlikely, but now I keep seeing this rumor that he would bring Tom Brady with him.
Well, I was going to say, one of the possibilities that the teams that you left out was maybe the Bucs if Brady goes back, just because I think, Todd Bowles, great defensive coordinator, but this is his second go at being a head coach now, and it's really not working out in Tampa. They're having a big disappointment season. The Cowboys to me seems like the most likely one. I don't think the Chargers really make sense for them to fire Brandon Staley, because when you kind of look at the situation, you realize how banged up they were, and they already clinched a playoff spot now. And I don't really know if they want to have Herbert go with another head coach as a young quarterback. Like, they're going to probably try to give him some consistency. I don't really think that move would be the best move for the Chargers. The Cowboys make sense to me because if this team underachieves, I think even if they do win a playoff game, let's say they're in the wild card round because they don't get the first round bye, they win a playoff game, they beat whoever on the road, they beat the Bucks on the road, that'll probably be the game. And then they come out in the next round, lose to the Eagles. I think Mike McCarthy's gone. And
Really?
I think he's gone in 2 seconds if Sean Payton is the guy knocking on the door, because we know Jerry Jones. If Sean Payton isn't available or isn't interested in the Cowboys position, then I think Jerry might be a little hesitant to fire him, because I think there might not be better options out there. But I think we know Jerry Jones enough now to know that he's willing to fire anybody at any time. And if there's a better option out there, he won't waste a second going to grab it.
What's funny? Mike McCarthy, who I thought they could have made the move last year, and I would have said, okay, you know what? Makes sense. McCarthy had a rough year last season. He hasn't had I think he's had a pretty good season this year.
Yeah.
He's improved from last year. He does have a great coaching staff. I mean, Dan Quinn should be a head coach somewhere, probably in Denver. But that's a tough sell. That's tough.
When we think about it, these coaches, there's no reason for us to come at these coaches after their first year and be like, you got to get rid of this guy, unless it's disastrous like Nathaniel Hackett was, and like Urban Meyer
is right now.
Yeah. Even McDaniels, whatever. They've had a bad year, but
I would fire him.
I don't think it's at that point where it's like a disaster that you need.
I think it is.
Because think about it. You're coming into a brand new building with a brand new roster, and you're trying to implement whatever scheme you want to implement. You're bringing your assistant coaches with you, and you're trying to fix whatever the previous coach did. And, it might take more than a year or even 2 years. I think that's why we got to let these coaches settle down. I think that's why the second year is kind of what tells what you got. I think Rob Saleh obviously had a really bad season last year. He's having a good year this year. There's been a lot of turmoil, obviously, with the quarterback, but I think he's doing a good job of handling everything with the media and whatnot, and the roster moves and everything like that. Then you have a guy like Joe Judge, who came out first year, looked good, second year, disastrous. All right, get rid of it. So to come out and see Mike McCarthy struggling a little bit, and then have his background with the Packers and be like, oh, I don't know about that hiring. Now that he's got a couple seasons under his belt and you see the trajectory of this team, I think you're right. I think he's doing a pretty good job. Now, will this opinion change if the Cowboys have some ridiculous decision like they did last year when they did a QB draw against the Niners and thought they were going to be able to spike the ball and time expired? We'll see.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that until I saw the clip of it the other day.
I forgot about that too. It's pretty funny.
Were they about to playoff game to end the game?
Were they about to kick the field goal to tie the game or something?
So they weren't, like the play before, they weren't in field goal range, but that draw got him down to like the 30 or something. And then he either, it would make a little more sense if Dak slid a little shorter to get them an extra second or two, but either way, it probably was good.
With McDaniels, I think it's tough because obviously they had the John Gruden situation, and then Rich Bisaccia takes over. Mm-hmm. And, they go to the playoffs, and they had a good season last year. And Carr was playing well, and they had good things going for that team. And, obviously they've struggled, and they haven't had the year they'd want to have, and they add Devontae Adams, and they add Chandler Jones, and they got better. They added to that roster, and they're significantly worse. I think that's what really hurts McDaniels. But I just think when you hear the things coming out of that locker room where, like I said before, these players that are teasing this, like, it's just bad. Things aren't good.
Right.
It's almost if we knew what was going on in that locker room, we knew exactly what the issues were, maybe we could have more clarity and we could say, okay, maybe he deserves to go.
Yeah.
It's tough because a lot of people, including myself, probably agreed with, you know what, maybe you don't get rid of Bisaccia. They went to the playoffs. They almost won a playoff game, on the road, for crying out loud. It's just that's a tough spot for him.
I think the moment a coach loses the locker room, there's no turning back.
And it's been clear for a while now that Hackett lost the locker room.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Urban Meyer did. We don't have that, clear picture that McDaniels has lost the locker room.
Right.
So,
right.
Some giant news. Oh, two big things. Number one, Tony Pollard out tonight for Thursday Night Football, and McKinney is back. Xavier McKinney.
Breaking news.
What?
Breaking
news. Yes, he will be back. I don't know if he's playing this week, but they designated him to return. Okay. I wish Sean Payton would go to the Chargers, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. Let's kick it off to this next topic I want to talk about. So in our videos that we posted on YouTube with your brother, Just Ball Analytics, we talked about who the MVP of the league should be, and we all agreed, it should be Patrick Mahomes. And we even talked about, a little bit, I want to talk about this more. Do non-quarterbacks deserve to be talked about in the discussion for MVP? Should a defensive end, should a wide receiver, should a running back? The last non-quarterback was AP, almost, probably more than 10 years or 10 years ago, when he won it with the Vikings. And so I want to open this discussion up because there are a couple of guys, and listen, I think it's Mahomes. I'm with everybody. I think Mahomes is the MVP of the league. But if there was a guy that was so and not offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year, like so valuable to their team that they could get votes, there's one guy to me that stands out, and I think most people would agree. But who is that guy for you? Do you think that a guy that is not a quarterback deserves to at least have some consideration for the MVP?
It makes sense to give them consideration. I understand the argument, but this is why I think, honestly, the most valuable player needs to be adjusted in every sport, because we always end up debating, well, are we talking about the most valuable guy, or are we talking about the guy who's just having the best season? So I think about the guy who's most valuable to his team. It's literally what the award is called. It's the most valuable player. It's the reason why there's awards called Offensive Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. That's just completely just statistics based. Who's having the best season? No one cares how their team is doing or, what value they've provided to their team. Just who's having the best year.
Right.
MVP, there's no doubt that it should be a quarterback every single year, unless there's some crazy down year with quarterbacks across the league. And we're back in 1950 where they're running it 35 times a game with one running back. I saw what Justin Jefferson said, talking about how he should be considered with the season he's having. There's no way. People made good comparisons to Cooper Kupp last year. Cooper Kupp was a guy who, if you want to talk about a wide receiver being in discussion for MVP, then let's talk about Cooper Kupp, because he's having a better season, a way better season than what Justin Jefferson is having right now. They're similar in yards and receptions, but Cooper Kupp had double the touchdowns. So no, I don't think that a wide receiver or a running back, the running back is like the closest one I could understand, because they can touch the ball over 20 or 30 times a game, depending on how much you use them in the pass game and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it comes to the guy, the most important position in football, comes down to the quarterback, the guy who's touching the ball 40, 50. He touches it every play, obviously, hands it off, whatnot, but it goes to the leader of the team, and that's the quarterback.
Yeah. To me, I get that. And I think the award should be won by a quarterback every single year, barring, like you said, this incredible season, record-breaking season from a running back or a wide receiver. And we don't have that. We came close to it last season with Kupp. And by the way, I would have thrown, I thought that he should have gotten a couple of votes, and he probably did, Kupp.
Sure.
He was amazing last season. When we talk about value to their team, Justin Jefferson is having that type of season, because we can talk about all you want about them being frauds and them not being, where they're supposed to be at 12-3. But the plays that he makes when he steps up in the biggest moments, I think, for me, I'm not saying he should win MVP, but he should be in the discussion, like he said. Maybe he should get a couple of votes here at the end. I don't know how they do. I don't know if it's 1, 2, 3 is like baseball where they rank them like 1 through 20. I'm blanking on that. But
No, it's not that. They don't go
It's
that.
it's 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I think he should be in the discussion. I mean, I think he's had that good of a season for his team. If you watch that team, they are nothing without Justin Jefferson. Nothing without him, in my opinion. I think they're a borderline playoff team without him.
I understand the point. I just want to bring up something. All right, so this is kind of a point I have. So obviously Justin Jefferson is fantastic. You're right. They've gone to him. He's won games for them. He won that game in Buffalo where he had that incredible catch, and even last week against the Giants, it was a screen pass, but he took that screen pass, took it into field goal, whatever.
Brutal.
It's about the quarterback. I mean, let's, for example, if you take Pat Mahomes off of the Chiefs and you put him on the Jets or the Bears or whoever, any other team that isn't a playoff team right now, that team instantly gets better, right? If Pat Mahomes is on the Jets, we're talking about they're in contention to win the division right now. Like
you were talking about the Jets, the 1 seed, right?
He is that good. You take a guy like Davante Adams, who was no doubt a top 3 receiver, probably the best receiver in the NFL last year, and probably is still one of the best receivers in the league, still possibly number 1. I think Jefferson is 1, but I think Adams is 2. You take Davante Adams, you put him on the Raiders, they just got worse than they did last year. Right. If you do that with Pat Mahomes, whatever team he goes to, they're not getting worse than the year before. Now I understand there's a coaching change, there's other factors going to that, but that doesn't even matter. We're talking, if you want to talk about a most valuable player, that is a guy who's going to elevate your team. And to me, a wide receiver, just no matter what stats he puts up, he's not going to be able to be in that value discussion.
I really like
Tyreek Hill. Even Tyreek Hill went over to Miami. They're having a good season, fighting for a playoff spot right now. Now they've had some injuries, but Tua's not going to play this weekend. Let's go see how they do without Tua Tagovailoa, because I guarantee you that they'll do a lot better with Tua than they would without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's a great point. I like that Adams comparison. That's actually really good. And even Hill. I mean, Hill isn't, your typical wide receiver. You can hit him on a slant and he breaks the game open. And yet, the Chiefs are still fine without Tyreek Hill. They do have Kelsey though, which helps. Yeah, that's a great point. I like that. Where are we going next here? Did you figure out what game should be Sunday Night Football next week?
I actually didn't. I'll take a quick look, but if you have an answer, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So, I don't know why my app's not loading here. I'd love if it did.
Ooh. So yeah, I know it's all divisional games, so we got a lot of good choices here. I think I know which one I want to see though.
Yeah, I'm thinking too.
All right, so I'm sure we have the same 2 games that we're thinking about.
Okay, I think so
actually,
too.
I'll say 3, but the third one's kind of like just an honorable mention. So my honorable mention would be Jets Dolphins, because I think that's going to have a lot of playoff implications on it. I think that will literally be a fight. That might be a fight for the 7 seed. I like either. I don't know which one I should pick.
I have another honorable mention. I'm not picking this one. This is an honorable mention because there is a chance this has a ton of implications. So Dallas, Washington can also have a ton of playoff implications.
Yeah.
And they love Dallas, and they do like Washington, actually. So Primetime loves Washington.
All right. I got your answer. So.
All right, yeah, because it's between 2, right? It's between 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Ravens Bengals, but Titans Jaguars is really close. Obviously, it's going to be a fight for the division. So is Bengals Ravens most likely, unless the Bengals win and the Ravens lose this week. Right. Then let's go with Titans Jaguars, but they're both going to be a fight for the division. And the tiebreaker in that would just be what's the higher quality football, because now, you got Josh Dobbs starting for the Titans this weekend. So I'm going to go with Burrow against Lamar. If Lamar is back by week 8.
I think Lamar's back.
Yeah.
I even forgot about that. Joshua Dobbs is playing in this game tonight, and they're going to get waxed by Dallas. I think if Tannehill was playing, this would be a sneaky, good Sunday Night Football game. Because I'm all over the Jags. All over the Jags.
One more game, I forgot.
Yes, I know exactly what you're gonna say. I was about to say it.
Lions Packers.
Yeah.
That's actually hell. I might pick that game if the Packers have a chance to make the playoffs, and that's a dogfight for the 7 seed. I might go with that game.
Not if it's only the
Packers
Packers though. Like the Lions have to have some implication on that. If it's just the Packers, like, all right,
you know what?
It's a big game.
I'm changing my whole philosophy. I don't want to see a division battle unless it's. I think the Bengals and the Ravens, actually, I'm going to bump that down because both those teams are locked to be in the playoffs. So at that point, yeah, it's for the division, but you're really just fighting for seeding when you uncover that. The Packers, obviously, you're going to be fighting for a playoff spot in that game, and the Lions might be too. And then you have the Jets and the Dolphins, who are both going to be fighting for that 7 seed as well. So one of those games I would really like to see, and the Titans, Jaguars, because whoever loses that division also isn't making the playoffs. So those are my top 3 games. Dolphins probably won't have Tua, and who knows if the Jets are going to win this weekend. All right.
I'm sticking with it.
My safe pick will be the Titans and the Jaguars, but if the Packers have a chance to make the playoffs after this week, I would like to see Packers-Lions.
I understand your reasoning, and it's a good reasoning. This is a divisional matchup. Oh, they're all divisional matchups. This is a big rivalry.
I just don't want to see Josh Dobbs on primetime.
No, I don't want to see that either. I'm talking Ravens. I'm talking Ravens-Bengals.
Hold on. It's not a... Oh, you're talking Ravens-Bengals. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, they're both guaranteed playoff spots. So you're really just fighting for seeding at that point.
Yeah, two really good teams. Like if Tua's not playing, like no offense, I don't want to watch Mike White versus Teddy Bridgewater. Like,
I just want a vintage Aaron Rodgers primetime appearance.
You'll probably get it. If they have a chance, I'll probably get it. I don't know how interested I would be. I am going to be interested, but I know the outcome of this. We all know they're going to win out. They're going to beat the Vikings this week at home.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're going to blow them out. And then they're going to play the Lions week 18. And if
that's Sunday night football, but they'll win.
If that's Sunday night football, what's a blowout to you again?
10+.
Okay.
And it depends on who's playing.
Less. All right.
Bro, if they win like 28-20, that's a blowout to you?
Depends on what happens. If it's 28-14 and they score a touchdown.
Well, yeah, obviously everything is in context, but
I didn't freeze. I just completely forgot.
I was like, what the hell was that?
I made like the freeze face.
Yeah.
Wow, forgot what I was gonna say.
I think that from the NFL standpoint, also, this is obviously going to be chosen for ratings, like what's going to give them the biggest ratings. I think the Packers are going to give them the biggest ratings. They're the most famous team of the teams we just discussed.
Right.
And names, obviously Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are huge names, but it's Aaron Rodgers. Like the guy's been a legend for 15 years now.
This is what I wanted to say, and Lion fans, if there was ever a Lion fan listening, they would probably get pissed at the statement. But I know the Lions. I love Dan Campbell. I really like this team, and I'm rooting for them. Like I hope they make the playoffs. But I just don't. They put them on prime time, and it's Sunday night in Green Bay, and that place is loud, and it's freezing cold, and Jared Goff in the outdoors, like. That has the potential to be a rout. And again, the Lions have had such a great season. And maybe they're in contention still to make the playoffs after that. I mean, maybe that's a win and you get the 7th seed, right? But I don't want to see the potentially this just Rodgers Packers rout against a team that they've owned for the last 20 years, for the Lions' entire existence. I don't want to see that. I think it has blowout potential on it, which is why I would stay away from it.
But all right, think about this. One of my favorite NFL regular season games I've ever watched was last year, the last game of the season, Chargers-Raiders, division rivalry, and it was a fight for that last playoff spot. And we all remember the drama with the tie and if they were going to tie or if they were going to try to win the game, whatnot.
Right.
I think the NFL is going to like when it's all that everything is all said and done. They know how the seating looks, and it's like, all right, win and you're in. Which I don't know what the scenario is with the Lions. If they win this weekend, I don't know if
Yeah,
Still,
they
the
if Seattle
Commanders
lost,
need to lose, right?
if Seattle lost and Washington lost, which are all very possible,
Yeah.
and then they won, and so did the Packers. A lot needs to happen. Like they would need to. I think that Washington would need to lose again in Week 18 because of the tie.
All right, so let's revisit. I like our ideas. Let's revisit this question in a week.
Yes, we will absolutely be able to. Oh, I just saw your top 10 list. Spoiler.
Oh,
Spoiler. I got it.
all right, well, don't read it.
I'm not. Wow, interesting. Interesting list. All right.
Don't read it. I'm not. Wow, interesting list. As you're reading your phone.
Right. Okay. So
it's fine.
Was there anything?
It's not a big reveal, but we'll argue it in 5 minutes.
Was there anything I want to talk about in the NFL? Anything else? My New York Giants. Let me just say this: for the first time in 6 years, my New York Giants have a chance to clinch a playoff spot. I will be in the building New Year's Day, and I would take every over prop on Nick Foles because I'm telling you, Nick Foles will give us a heart attack on Sunday.
No, he's not.
Even though he looked like the worst quarterback I've ever seen.
He's never played football before.
Yeah, I actually bet on them last week. I had them plus 3.5, and they could have covered like 7 times. And they didn't. Whatever. So shout out to my New York Giants. Let's go Giants. Let's get a win. Control our own destiny. Just win the game. Don't care who loses. And you're just need a big win in Seattle.
Yes, we do. It's gonna be a
Mike White.
weekend.
Mike White back. I cannot believe
Mike effing White.
I can't believe how we talk about Mike White in this town now. I can't believe how revered Mike White is. Like Mike White, like the most generic name possible. He looks like you.
Okay,
like
your quarterback's name is Daniel Jones.
Yeah, but that dude's him. I mean,
yeah.
We didn't even have that discussion about whether or not he should be the
character.
giant quarterback for the next 10 years, which I'm all on board for. We can have the discussion another day. We'll revisit that one in the offseason because that dude, unless he plays himself out of that conversation in the next 2 weeks. But anyway, we come back. We're going to do our top 10 catcher list. And then do the Mets sign Carlos Correa? We'll talk about that when we come back. Here we go. Episode 83. We are back. Great football segment. Football winding down. But baseball's was heating up. Now it's cooling down a little bit. Free agency almost over. Maybe we'll get to trade season 2 soon. I saw 90 days till opening day. That's what I saw today. 57 to spring training. So we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. I don't know how does the World Classic get into this?
It's like, I think it's in February, and then it kind of sprinkles into spring training.
Yeah.
But
Pray for no injuries. Pray for no injuries.
Yeah, seriously.
The only thing I worry about. I'll watch, but
kind of annoyed. My team has like players in it. Like I was just like, I want USA to win, but no Yankees, please.
Yeah.
There's just one. I think it's Nestor. That's it.
Yeah, I know. That would concern me. I'm trying to think of the pitchers the Mets have in it. I think it's just like position players. And it's all team Puerto Rico. I think Diaz is pitching in it. But yeah. It'll be fun to watch.
That team's crazy. Did you see the Dominican Republic's team?
Dominican Republic seems crazy too. That's nuts. Yeah.
Like the MLB All-Stars.
Yeah. Hamstring boys in it. Starling Marte. All right. Top 10 MLB catchers. We're going to be doing this now until the season starts. Our top 10 position players, starting pitchers. I think we finished it off, right, with top 10 like overall players last year.
I don't remember it.
I think we did. I'm almost positive. I'll check right now, but I'm pretty sure. No, I definitely think we did.
I think you're out of your mind. But
no.
Anyways.
You want to start top 10 catchers?
I will. All right. So
we didn't. You're right.
So yeah, this is top 10 right now. We're not MLB nerds. We're not projecting into 2023. That guy's got to relax with his list. But
going into 2023,
top 10 catchers as of today. Okay. Number 10, Jose Trevino. Number 9, Travis d'Arnaud. Number 8, Tyler Stevenson. Number 7, Alejandro Kirk. Number 6, Cal Raleigh. Number 5, Wilson Contreras. Number 4, the newly traded Sean Murphy. 3, Will Smith. 2, the rookie Adley Rutschman. And number 1, JT Realmuto.
All right. So I have a couple of things. One, You had Kirk at 7, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got him a lot higher. What was your reasoning there at 7? Not even not cracking the top 5.
Well, read your list first, and then I'll tell you. I want to hear
Okay.
your list.
Also, no love for my boy Travis Darno at 9. Where's my list? Okay. Number 10, I put your boy, Jose Trevino. Number 9 was Tyler Stevenson, who would be higher if he played more.
Yeah.
Cal Riley's number 8. Travis Darno's number 7. Wilson Contreras is number 6. Number 5 is Alejandro Kirk. Our other issue, number 4, I had Adley Rutschman.
Ooh.
Number 3, I thought for sure you were going to have Sean Murphy higher than I had him, but I had Sean Murphy at 3. You had him at 4. Of course, my boy, Will Smith cannot be number 1 on this list this year, maybe next year. And then number 1 will be JT Realmuto.
So I guess we'll start off with Kirk. The numbers were good last year. He was good offensively. Defensive stats weren't great. They also have 2 catches. Like Danny Jansen almost made my list. Like they got to figure out what they're going to do with that. I don't know if they're going to DH him or whatnot.
Danny Jansen was good.
DH Kirk. Yeah, Danny Jansen like a 3 WAR catcher last year. Kirk's numbers were good offensively. They tailed off a little at the end of the year. The defense isn't great. I don't see him better than Cal Raleigh, who had a really nice season last year and really his first full year in the MLB. Really nice bat for the Mariners. I always get those teams confused. And Contreras, who I think you have below Kirk. Guy's been an all-star for years now. He's had a couple all-star games, just signed a big deal with the Cardinals. He's a great bat. The glove isn't great. He's a little inconsistent over his career with the glove, but overall not fantastic. But I just think when you look at track record and you look at even who had the better offensive season last year, Contreras.
Yeah, I love the bat. I also love Kirk's body. I love his shape.
All right.
No, I just whenever I watch Alejandro, I like his offensive numbers. I'm looking at Danny Jansen's numbers. I'm actually shocked.
Yeah, right.
I mean, holy crap! It's actually really surprising. But the 126, yeah, I don't know. I like Kirk.
So the 129 OPS plus is, WRC plus is really impressive for Kirk.
No, I had OPS plus too.
Well, yeah, and his OPS plus I'm sure was very similar. When you look at the defensive ratings, though, it's not great. And Wilson Contreras is actually worse. He's the worst defender on my top 10.
Is he really the worst defensive catcher on these lists?
On my top 10, he's the worst defensive catcher. But the offense was so good last year, and he's been one of the best offensive catchers in baseball for a couple of years now. It's crazy how great of a defender Jose Trevino is. I mean, he shouldn't be even near this list if you looked at his offensive statistics, but at obviously a very important position in baseball, he makes it. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is great.
His offensive numbers weren't that bad though last season.
No, they weren't, but that's why I kept him at 10. Honestly, if we were just taking last year's numbers into account and that's really it, I would have him maybe a couple spots higher, maybe 9 or 8. But
oh wow,
I think the fact that he had a career year last year offensively and still had a WRC plus under 100, had an OPS plus under 100, ended up with a 6-something OPS overall. I kept him at 10.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was always throwing him at the bottom of the top 10 because of his defense.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was under 700 last year as an OPS. I just assumed like he was. I didn't realize how far he dropped off, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because he was, what was his OPS at one point? He was high last year.
I mean, he was an all-star. He was in the high 700s, I believe, when he made the all-star game.
That's nuts. Wow. And I didn't realize that. But yeah, I mean, his defense is so good, like you were saying. I think he's the best pitch framer in baseball. He was always going to be on this list here at the bottom of it for me. So,
sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted one more point about Trevino.
Yeah.
So the statistic now, on Fangraphs next to Ward has offense and defense. It's basically just a rating of their value as on offense or on defense. This is crazy. Trevino's defensive rating was 29.0 last year.
Right.
That's number one among catchers. The second highest rating was Cal Raleigh at 18. It's 11 points higher.
Wow, that's nuts.
He's just far and above the best defensive catcher in baseball, so you got to have him on the list.
Yeah, 100%. You had Cal Riley 6.
Yeah.
I had him 8. I think we're like sort of in agreement there. He's a great power hitter.
Mm-hmm.
He there's a chance he hits 30 home runs this year. The average obviously isn't high. His on base is very low. That's actually why I had him under Travis d'Arnaud. He was about to go over Travis d'Arnaud, and then he had like a 289 on base last season. So the home runs are there, the power's there, but the average and the on base being low is what dropped him to 8 for me. You had Travis d'Arnaud 9, I had him 7. It's just so weird to see this guy first off in a Braves uniform and playing at the level that he's playing at. He's been really good. He still can't throw anybody out at second base.
Yeah.
And his defense isn't that great either, but his offensive numbers have been.
He actually was a good defender last year. He had a good year.
Really?
Yeah. He was like one of the 5 best defensive catchers according
really
Fangraphs. Yeah.
Still can't throw anybody out though.
No.
That I know. But
honestly,
I had him 7. You had him 9.
Yeah, I think in all these couple of levels we're talking about right now, anywhere from 6 to 8 or whatever, they're a little interchangeable. I'm sure if our listeners, if you go look at our list on our Instagram from last year of catchers, there's guys on this list who are on the list who aren't on the list this year. There's guys like Yasmani Grandal, who's literally number 1, and now I didn't even think about Yasmani Grandal to be on my list this year. I mean, he just had talk about a fall from grace. He had an abysmal season last year.
Putrid, as they would call it.
Yeah, like I can't believe guys like Victor Caratini and your boy Thomas Nito had better seasons than Yasmani Grandal last year.
Yeah, I don't really know why Tomas Nito would be surprising there.
I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you with this whole Adley Rutschman.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I'm going to call it actually.
Yeah.
So when I started making this list, I was like, all right, well, who am I going to put at number 1? I was like, yeah, Real Muto, like, is the first guy everybody thinks of. But I was like, honestly, like, I might put Rutschman 1. And then I was looking at, like, the stats, and I was like, all right, maybe it's a little premature to put him 1. But I really thought about it. And when you look at the numbers, like, this guy came out last year as a rookie. Obviously one of the most hyped up draft picks they've had in a while. The MLB has had in a while, number 1 pick a couple of years ago, and made it to the big leagues fast. Granted, he did come out of college as a senior, but 5.3 F4, second among catchers last year, 113 games played. So he played, it's about 25 less games than Real Muto played last year.
Right.
Real Muto has a 6.5 WAR. WRC plus of 133. That's the highest among any catcher last year besides William Contreras, but he was really a DH and he didn't.
Right.
He only had 376 plate appearances, which is a decent sample size, but good defender, has nice defensive statistics from last year, and he's one of the best offensive catchers. I'll keep him at 2. Real Muto has been doing it for longer. He's been consistent. He even steals 20 bags, which is crazy. But I think this time next year when we're making this list, I think Adley Rutschman is really high up there, and I would not be surprised if he throws his name into the top 10 in MVP voting this year.
He was 12 last year.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
He's
12th on the AL MVP voting.
Listen, that's what happens when you play a premium position like catcher is, and you get above average offensive production. I mean, that's why you guys like Mike Piazza and Buster Posey and Joe Mauer are so rare.
That's nuts. Yeah. For me, Murphy was very good last year. The Braves just traded for him, and he's going to be playing with d'Arnaud over there, and they just signed him to an extension, which is, I think they hold guns to their players' heads. Like, all right, you're going to sign this extension for less than market value, or you're done. Yeah. No. I had Murphy. I put Murphy over him. Obviously, my love for Will Smith. I think he's one of the best offensive catchers in the sport. Mm-hmm. I never considered him over Real Muto. I considered him over Murphy, but I ended up going with Murphy. I thought Murphy had a really good season last year, and I just read the Braves press release, and how they hyped up their players on their press release.
Yeah.
But yeah, wouldn't shock me if Rutschman is number 1 next year. That's number 12 in
Yeah,
the MVP
that's
vote.
crazy.
That is nuts.
I think Sean Murphy might actually get better offensively. I know you hate to hear that.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm just talking hypothetically here, but I think he could get better in Atlanta because think about it. I mean, he's playing for a team in Oakland who he was probably their best offensive player last year, and I think when you put him in a stacked lineup like the Braves have, I think he's going to start seeing a little bit better pitches. I mean, 122 WRC plus last year, very good. He's young. I could see him really coming into his own. I mean, he's already one of the top catchers in baseball, but really making a name for himself in Atlanta.
I mean, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. What's the plan with Darno?
Let's see here 1 minute. He had 18 homers last year, 66 RBIs. He led All-American League primary catchers with 134 hits, 37 doubles, and 66 RBIs, 229 total bases. He ranked second in home runs and second in runs scored, and a 5.1 F4 last season.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I know you disagree with the way your list went. To me, in my head, if we could put this in tiers, Real Muto and Rutschman are in a tier by themselves.
Really?
I view everybody below them as just in that second tier.
So you wouldn't have Smith or Sean Murphy in the same tier as them?
No. I mean, wow. you and I don't mean that to be like, don't think of it too drastically where I'm like, they don't even deserve to be thrown in the same sentence. Like, obviously, they're very good players, but Rutschman, like, his trajectory is good. It's going to be so good. And he only, like I said, he only played 113 games last year, and he's second on this list in F4. He's got the highest WRC plus. He's the second in freaking base running. Like, he does everything so well. I think a full season of Adley Rutschman, and I think if they would have called him up in the beginning of April and didn't want to manipulate his service time, whatever the hell they did, like all these teams do, which I'm sure they're feeling great about that. They might have actually made the playoffs if they called him up on April 1st. I think if they call him up on April 1st, he's probably number 1 on this list. I think his numbers would back it up.
Yeah. Do we have any other disagreements here? Do we have any other like major discrepancies? I don't think so.
No, this catchers is probably the easiest list to make in terms of, to me, I don't really struggle. Obviously, I struggle a little bit with like, where do I rank these guys? The part I struggle with the most is who do I leave off the list?
Right.
Because like there's something about being like, oh wow, like he's not a top 10, like shortstops. I remember last year, I was like, that guy's not a top 10 shortstop. I was like, I gotta fit him on here somewhere. I was like, I can't. To me, the only guy who really had contention for this, couple of guys, Jonah Heim, Danny Jansen, William Contreras, but I mean, that's it.
Shortstop's gonna be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
First base too. Vladdy might be like 6.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of good first basemen, man.
Where was he last year? Vladdy was 1 on both those. Yeah, there's a lot of good first basemen.
Yeah, Goldschmidt, Freeman, Pete. Yeah, you got a lot of really good guys now. Matt Olson.
Muncy's dropping.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shortstop will be interesting too. And speaking of shortstops, like you were saying, Carlos Correa is in the news once again. So, as we know, Carlos Correa signed the 13-year, $350 million deal. The press conference was going to be 2 weeks ago, Tuesday, and then they flagged something on his medical. Now, I keep seeing this. I even actually wrote this down on accident doing something. He didn't fail any physical. Like, none of the physicals were failed. They just flagged something from the past. If he failed a physical, that means there's something wrong with him right now. There's nothing wrong with him right now. They just flagged something. Mm-hmm. Giants flag it, cancel the press conference. Mets swoop in late at night. They agree to terms. He does the physical. Mets flag him Friday into Saturday. Something's wrong. That leg is effed up. And Christmas happens. And yeah, there's going to be a break. You know, you're not going to be talking over Christmas. I'm sure, you know, they're exchanging texts here and there. But there's been a radio silence since, even, you know, as the week started. And this is like a lazy week where nobody really does anything. People are from work. They're working. They're working through this. Mm-hmm. And there's been nothing. No leaks from Boris that, oh, you know, there's 3 teams involved and we're talking to them. And like they're kind of hashing this out.
Yeah.
And, I was with you on Monday night and Tuesday night, and I said to you, like, I'm okay either way. And I honestly don't know if I would sign him to a 12-year contract. There has to be protection for the Mets. And just he's got this issue with the leg and the plate and near the ankle, and that's not good. They don't think the leg is going to be able to last 10, 12 years. He's got back problems already. He's missed time with that. Like, this is not a 12-year guy. This is not a guy you sign for 10 years. If you told me the Mets signed him for 7, 8 years, all good, let's go. Sign on the dotted line. We got our third baseman for the next, hopefully playing at a high level for the next 5 to 6 years, and you deal with the last couple. But for 12 years, this could be, and this is how I've been, presenting this to my Met fan friends. Think about Robinson Cano just for like 6 years.
Yeah.
You don't want that. And Steve Cohen doesn't want that, and Billy Epler doesn't want to deal with that. And I think that's why we're in the situation that we're in right now.
I mean, you look at Carlos Correa and the teams that he's dealt with over the past couple of seasons. The Astros and the Giants are two of the best run organizations in the whole sport. The Astros refuse to give him a contract. He goes out, plays for the Twins for a year, opts out of his deal. Now he signs with the Giants, a team that's very well run, has had success every decade, doesn't spend a lot of money very often. They go out, they give a huge deal to Carlos Correa. They look at this physical, they go, what?
Desperate.
Yeah.
Desperate for a superstar.
Right.
Desperate
especially
for a face
after losing out on Judge. They wanted to make a splash, and they go out and they sign Carlos Correa, and it's a big deal to their fans, and everybody's ecstatic about it. The Giants, the humiliation of the whole arson Judge thing and everything like that kind of goes to bed now. And they look at this guy's physical and they say, "Whoa, we're not giving you this 12-year, 13-year deal that they gave him." If I'm the Mets and I hear that, I was shocked they gave him a 12-year deal after that in the first place, especially because we've been hearing about his back for a couple years now, and now it's his leg. And now you as the Mets look at the physical and go, okay, well, now I know what the Giants were talking about. I don't like this. I understand Steve Cohen has all the money in the world, and I'm sure that payroll is going to keep going up. But there's a point where you can't have everybody. Like, you need to still build this team the right way. And signing Carlos Correa to be your third baseman, which is another thing, you're moving him to another position that I'm sure he'll be very good defensively at, but it takes away some of his value, right? He's not usually like third basemen who are elite have Rafael Devers type numbers and Nolan Arenado type numbers. He's a little bit below that offensively, not much, a tick below that.
I disagree. He's right there, like right there.
He is.
He's right there.
You can't go out and give this guy 12 years. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to commit that long term and that much money. And I don't care if the AAV is lower. We're talking about years here. Right. You can't lock that guy up to be your third baseman who's not going to have trade value. You're not going to be able to trade him. I mean, injuries plus the long contract, you're not going to be able to get rid of him. So I don't know if I'm the Mets. I think the smart move is to back out of this deal, see if you could restructure. I know he's not going to want to do that, but tough luck, buddy. What are you going to do? Go sign a 1-year deal with the A's? Like, what do you? I'm not.
Sign the 1-year deal here.
I know other teams are reaching out, but I'm sure nobody's offering him a 10+ year contract.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, when does this get to a point where Boris swallows his pride and says, you know what? We're not getting this 10, 12-year contract, anymore. Like, that's off the table, Carlos. Let's sign something, whether it's another, 1 year, or if it's does he sit here and say, okay, Steve, give me 3 years, $35 million, and then I'll sign a 7-year contract, whatever. I don't know what it is,
Right.
Does he do another short-term deal? Does he do a 7-year deal? Are the Mets comfortable with that? I don't know. And I know the Twins offered him 10 years, $285 before the Giants. Then after that thing with the Giants happened, right before the Mets signed him, the Twins did not go up on their offer. It was 10 years, $285. That's what I read a couple of days after, because the saga is just so interesting. 10 years, $285. They would not go up from that.
Wonder if the Giants come back and say, yo, you want 4 years?
Yeah, right. But I don't know.
It's really weird, though.
I don't know how this ends.
I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before.
By the way, Carlos Correa's WRC plus over the last 2 years, 136. The third baseman in that time, better. Riley 139, Ramirez 138, Devers 137, and Machado 137. So he's right there. Right there. I don't know.
Also,
As a Mets fan,
he also missed like a lot of games in that span, but yeah.
the last 2 years?
Oh, it was 2 years?
2 years.
Oh, okay.
I
thought you were saying like 5 years because he's
just the last 2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
As a Mets fan, for this season, like I want him on this team. I want him to be the third baseman of the New York Mets because it makes them better this year. It makes them better the year after. Although I think Ohtani will be a Met the year after. But it's not worth it to sacrifice the future here of, payroll flexibility for Carlos Correa for 1 year. You want to give him a 3-year contract at $40 million a year. I don't care. Not my money. Do it.
Yeah.
But don't do this. Please. I'm almost at that point. Like, please. And I'll probably celebrate. If it happens, I'll celebrate. Because, this season, the Mets will have a great chance at winning a World Series.
Yeah, of course. You got a great player,
but it won't be good for the future. It's not. The smart move is to just kind of, if they protect themselves, fine, but just protect
get
yourself.
A couple opt-outs in there. Or
use protection.
Shorten the deal.
Yeah. If they do that, yippee. Like, let's go. Like, let's go win a World Series.
Right.
But if it's 12 years, 315 straight, no protections, no opt-outs, this is not going to be good.
I was talking to you about this. I'm sure it's not going to matter because, like I said, it seems like Steve Cohen's willing to have $1 billion payroll. But I don't know if they're trying to I don't know if they need to open up anything on the books for Ohtani next year. But I think they're going to be a really strong contender for him. And I know it's going to be a very competitive market. Obviously, I mean, he's going to get a deal we've never seen before, and I think the Dodgers are probably going to make an offer, and who knows if the Yankees are thinking about it and whatever other big market teams. But that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Cano's off the books, $24 million after this year. Scherzer can opt out after this year. And either way, it's only one more year. It's only one more year of Verlander at 40. I think if he has a great year.
If he has another great year,
he's going.
And he gets another like multi-year deal, that's crazy. But
I know exactly what it'll be. Let's say the season he had last year, just like 20 more innings, right? Because he was I think it's underrated how great he was for the Mets last year when he pitched. Yeah. He was unbelievable. He has that year, add like 20 more innings to it. He opts out. He breaks his own record, gets 2 years, $90 million. Like, that is completely on the table.
Yeah.
Completely on the table.
Yeah.
And the Mets replace him with Ohtani. Be perfect. No problem. But yeah, it would be they'll get Cano's 20 off the books. And a few others. They'll have the money to
gotta pay Pete soon.
I know they gotta pay Pete, they gotta pay Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta keep your own. That's it's a big thing. All right. That'll do it. Have a happy new year. Enjoy the college football games. I'm like a little lost on these games, but it'll be fun. Enjoy the NFL. Let's go Giants. Let's go Jets. Big weekends for them. Mm-hmm. Anything you got to say?
Nah, last episode of the 2022 year. Hopefully 2023 is a big year for us.
2023 will be a big year for us.
Gonna keep coming out with content. Make sure everybody keeps watching those YouTube videos we've been uploading. We got a ton of more coming out. We'll be recording some new ones soon.
And the TikTok too.
Mm-hmm.
We update our TikTok page all the time. Go check that out.
Oh yeah.
All right. Talk to you guys next time.